So I'm sitting here with Llew O'Brien from the Federal National Party, been in Parliament for 10 years. Now, you guys would know I'm not a big fan of the Nationals. In fact, I want to destroy the Nationals in New South Wales at the next election. So this is going to be an explosive interview because I'm going to ask Llew how he's in a party that supported abortion up to birth largely in New South Wales in 2019 and has gagged the Queensland Parliament from even talking about abortion for 4 years under the leadership of David Crisafulli. I'm not going to hold back from the tough questions. Llew has graciously agreed to be in that chair for my grilling, and that's today on the Dr. Joe Show. So Llew, so great to see you today. We're going to head to the gala tonight, and thank you for coming all the way from Queensland for this.
My pleasure and privilege.
Yep, and great to meet you in person. One of the reasons I wanted to talk to you is because a new federal bill is on the horizon. Could you tell us what you're planning to do?
So I've put in a notice to introduce a bill, and it's the Human Rights Children Born Alive Protection Bill 2026. So this is effectively the same bill that was introduced by Matt Canavan and Alex Antic in the previous Parliament, and George Christensen in the Parliament before that. So I've put the notice in, and all going to plan, I'll be introducing that bill hopefully on the 17th of August, at which time I'll be giving a speech, and then it'll be up to the selection committee as to if it gets further debate and further time in the Parliament. So I'm hoping that is the case.
Now, this will be the first time, I think, in a long time that a pro-life bill has been introduced into the House of Representatives. Is that correct?
Yeah, so this one was introduced by George Christensen before the 2002 election. So I think it would have been it probably was 2021. So 5 years ago, it was introduced by George. And I'm introducing it now.
And it never saw debate when George introduced it?
No, it was hidden away. I'm hoping that won't be the case because obviously it's. When I took it through the party room the other day and told all of my colleagues, I told them clearly that this is probably the most important bill that I'll introduce and the most important matter that I'll take to the Parliament. And that's how I feel about it. So obviously, feeling like that, I hope it gets debated.
Okay, so for people who are unfamiliar, this bill is a bill that says for any baby that is born in this country, they're entitled to equal treatment and medical care. So I would colloquially refer to it as a birth equality bill. Yeah. The idea that regardless of the circumstances of your birth, whether you were the product of an abortion, a failed abortion, or intentionally delivered prematurely, because there is an abortion method of just live induction pre-22 weeks and then they leave the babies to die. This bill seeks to address that. What does the bill do?
Well, the bill creates a legal requirement for either life-sustaining treatment or palliative care has to be given. It also, so it creates, in making that requirement, it also creates a penalty if it's not. The mother is not held responsible. The mother is in no way liable, but the medical professional is. It also requires there to be proper records of births of this nature being kept. It comes under the Human Rights External Affairs power. And look, for me, it's quite simple. If a baby is born alive, one of these wacky, crazy people that think even if a baby's in the womb, it's a human being. But once it's born alive, it deserves the best care we can give it. That care should not be influenced by ideology, which I believe there's great risk of happening, and I believe it has happened. I think it's clear that it's happened, particularly with the coronial matter in the Northern Territory. And as our abortion laws have created an environment where there's more babies being terminated late, there is more risk of this occurring, and medical guidelines are medical guidelines. They're not subject to the same scrutiny as law, and I don't believe it should be the case that medical guidelines determine how a human being is treated when the state is effectively sanctioning the death of a human being outside of its mother. I think that needs to be governed by law.
This has been going on for a very long time. There's countless babies, in our thousands now, of babies who've survived their abortion and been left to die since this, I guess, has come to pass, legalised abortion. You mentioned the coronial report into Jessica Jane, the little girl who was born alive and left to die for 80 minutes in an empty room on a metal kidney dish. And the coroner in that case, Greg Kavanagh, he said that she should have been treated like any other human born in that state. The Northern Territory still, in its termination of pregnancy protocol, says do not give life-sustaining treatment if a live birth occurs. In fact, the only two states that legislate birth equality are South Australia and New South Wales. And in just Queensland and Victoria alone, one baby every week survives their abortion and is left to die. And it can take hours. For little baby Xantha in 2020 at the Royal Brisbane Hospital, we found out via a media story that she survived for a matter of 7 minutes. But there's research from Canada of thousands of births which showed one baby actually survived for 24 hours, gasping for air, struggling to breathe, cold, writhing. You know, you think about, you've had children, haven't you?
Yeah.
And I have too. And you think about that newborn going from the place where they're safest to just being discarded.
It betrays, it's horrific, but it also betrays who we are as Australians and what we believe in Australia in terms of how human life should be treated. It's almost, you know, if you hypothetically look at inside the mother as a different jurisdiction, hypothetically say that the death penalty was given to somebody in a different jurisdiction and then they were medevaced, and that wasn't successful and they were medevaced to Australia, how would we treat that person? We would give every bit of life-sustaining care to that person if they were a human being in Australia fighting for life. It wouldn't matter about that, but we cross over this ideological barrier of birth and we still are going to kill the baby by not giving it the care that it needs, potentially. And I just can't agree with that. And it's horrific. And it's not who we are as a nation. You know, we don't kill citizens. This is an innocent human being. This is an innocent little person, but we will allow it to die. And the guidelines are wrap it in a warm blanket and give it a cuddle. That's only if they've got star flu. Yeah.
You know, and that's comfort care, that's not palliative care.
Yeah.
So your bill, if the baby survives their abortion, an assessment will be made. Could they survive, in which case life-sustaining treatment will be given, or are they probably going to die because they're pre-viable? And in which case palliative care is given, which is a step above comfort care. It's what we give to wanted babies, and unwanted babies should be treated in the same way.
Absolutely. Look, the wishes of the mother are to kill the baby. You know, that sounds confronting, but it's true. Once that baby leaves the mother and is independent of the mother, I don't believe we should be... I don't think there's, once again, other areas of society, we don't look to the person who's wanting to kill the human being to ask them if we turn the life support off. You know, if it was hypothetically again, if let's just say there was an intimate partner violence where a partner was on life support because of the actions of another partner, would we seek that person's advice to turn the life support off or to ask what critical care? Now that's different, but the motive is the same, the death is the same. That person wants that person dead. We don't, it's a conflict of interest, but in these medical guidelines, the wishes of the person that wants the human being dead are taken into account, and I just don't think that's right. I don't think that's right. It's a very difficult thing to talk about, but it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be.
Even in the dairy industry, calving induction has been banned as a method of farming. So, you know, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but one of the methods of carving was to induce these little baby calves early and then either to leave them to die or to hit them on the head, blunt force trauma. That's now been phased out. It's actually banned under animal welfare rules. But yet for babies, live induction is a legitimate method of abortion that is used. And I've spoken to midwives who talk about these little babies lined up with little blankets over their heads, and it's someone's job to go into that medical waste room to lift the blanket and record time of death.
Yeah, it's just horrific. And it that it happens in Australia and we accept it is just absolutely, I find, unbelievable. And I think if the majority of Australians actually knew what's happening, they'd probably find it unbelievable as well. But it's not an issue that we're promoting. It's not an issue we want to talk about. We get shouted down, as you do, and other people who are anti-abortion get shouted down and cancelled. It's as I say, it's as a parliamentarian, looking after or speaking for those who don't have a voice in the most vulnerable position and are being treated poorly is the most important thing I can do. And little Australians like that are born alive need someone. I know the bill's not going to succeed. I'll be lucky if I get it to be debated.
Is that true? You don't think it? So, because I was going to say to you, this isn't, I described it as a pro-life bill, but if the case for the pro-choice, pro-abortion side is my body, my choice, this isn't really a pro-life or anti-abortion bill, because the baby has now been removed from the mother's body and we're looking at them as a distinct legal person. It's not really a pro-choice, pro-life debate. Do you still feel that you won't be able to attract parliamentary support for this?
Look, I would love to, but I think not. I mean, the government of the day, the Labor Party, I mean, you know what they're like. I don't think they'll give a conscience vote on this. I think they'll shut it down and try and just kick it into the long grass or never to be seen again. I would love it to be debated. It deserves to be debated. As I say, these are little Australians. We're treating them differently to we would in any other circumstances, whether it be a different jurisdiction or whatever. If they came to Australia, we would be giving them the life-sustaining best of care, and we're not. Many of the arguments don't stack up, as you said, about my body, my choice. It deserves to be debated, but I think it'll probably see the same fate that it did when George Christensen brought it in.
So you don't think Labor will allow a debate on this?
I don't think so. I don't think so, but I hope I'm wrong.
Okay.
I hope I'm wrong.
So that actually tells me that probably my job as a campaigner is to petition Anthony Albanese to allow debate on this bill.
Absolutely.
Like at a minimum, just to campaign for that.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a debate that we need to have.
Why do you think Labor is so wedded to abortion now? It didn't used to be. And, if you think back to the 1990s when I was growing up, and you had Kim Beazley as the federal leader in the late 1990s, my understanding is he worked with pro-life groups. But by the era of Julia Gillard, the party has, and now Anthony Albanese, the party is really into abortion. If you look at the Emily's List website of the federal MPs that are part of Emily's List, it just goes for pages and pages. What's going on?
I don't know. I joined the National Party. It's a, conservative party that's first objective is to promote a society based on Christian ethics. So that's where I come from. I said to you in a previous conversation that my family were old-time Labor, and my grandfather, I'm sure he'd roll in his grave if he knew what was going on now. But look, the world has been caught up in this ideology, this leftist ideology that really puts the welfare of people second on so many levels, and I think it's part of that. It's just it's an ideological position that the Labor Party has embraced, and embraced very strongly.
When you're in the parliament, do you feel like you come face to face with evil?
I mean, I come from I'm a policeman before I was a member of parliament. I think I come face to face with naivety and stupidity in the parliament, and people caught up in a movement a movement that's bad. I mean, I've seen evil people, and I would, people who do evil things, and I feel they're evil. I feel, in a context, in a way, but I just feel that society has gone in a direction where we've become naive. We're not. I suppose we've been desensitised to a lot of things, and that's what's happened. I mean, there's people on my side that have the same views, so that's a challenge as well.
I mean, I would say that anybody that supports abortion up to birth is evil, because that is allowing a baby to be killed, a human baby to be killed in the womb in the most barbaric way. And they're powerless, they're defenceless. You're allowing the stronger party to kill the weaker party. The methods of abortion are just so violent. So to rip the arms and legs off a child with metal forceps, or to remove them of their nutrient supply, starving them to death, or to inject their heart with poison and to induce a heart attack, or to birth them alive, to discard them like trash, knowing that they'll be tortured then while breathing and gasping. It just, to me, is so barbaric that I feel like people need to wake up to just how evil this is. And I do see it as part of my mission is to wake up Australians to say that if a politician or a party supports abortion and you consider yourself to be a good person, particularly for the Christians who are watching, I would say you can't in good conscience vote for these people. And so Anthony Albanese presiding over the most pro-abortion Labor government we've ever seen, I would say he's an evil man. I don't know how to call it any other way.
I get what you're saying, and it's barbaric. We need to be having the discussion, not shutting people down, so others can truly understand and absorb what's going on. The current structure, it's hidden behind a veil of secrecy. It's given the title of reproductive rights when it has nothing to do with reproduction. It's influenced more heavily by ideology than virtually anything else, and we're at a time in Australia where we need more babies. We have an increasing rate of abortion and late-term abortion, and the laws are becoming more extreme and
Albanese is
horrific.
Actually paying paid parental leave
Yeah.
and the stillbirth parenting payment for women who deliberately kill their baby late in pregnancy. There are financial incentives now paid for by the taxpayer up to $22,000. I want to ask you, turning our sights now onto your own side, because you're in the LNP in Queensland, and you referenced the party constitution for the Nationals to turn Australia into a country based on Christian ethics. How do you feel about the fact that David Crisafulli has banned the Queensland Parliament from addressing abortion, from talking about abortion for a 4-year period of his government?
Yeah, look, deeply disappointed. Deeply disappointed. I think it's a political move, obviously a political move, and it's one I don't support. We're putting politics ahead of issues like this is not why I joined a political party. I didn't. I want to change things like this, and when we're in government, I'd like to change them. I believe that he voted against the bill when in 2018 that created the situation where babies can be terminated up to birth, and if he voted against it, I would have expected that he would have done something to stop it, changing. I believe that the guidelines have been changed, but once again, that makes my argument that we need laws that regulate this, not bureaucrats or people that are influenced by politics and ideology. Pissed off that he's done this, and to me it's undemocratic as well. Like, I like David, and I think he's doing a lot of good stuff, but on this one, on this one I'm not with him.
On a cynical read, one could say he voted against abortion up to birth in 2018 because he needed to do that in order to have the support of the party base and the members of parliament in order to be the leader. He never in the campaign for Premier said he would gag the parliament from talking about abortion. He said that he would not change the laws, but he never said that he'd ban Robbie Katter from doing so or anybody else. And yet his first move was to gag anybody from doing anything about abortion. And on a cynical read, you could say, well, he did what he had to do to become leader, and now he's done what he has to do to stay Premier, so that the Labor scare campaign that he's going to wind back abortion laws just won't stick. Do you think that's a fair assessment?
Look, I think probably. I mean, it is what it is. It's, this is a political move to shut down any debate on this. It's their decision, but I don't agree with it. I'm deeply disappointed by it. Deeply disappointed by it. We shouldn't be putting politics ahead of the lives of and the care of little human beings. And if that's the case, well, that's not on. It's to say it's not why I got involved in politics. I got involved in politics to save human beings.
In Queensland, when they introduced abortion up to birth in 2018, Stephen Miles, who was the Labor Health Minister, said that the number of late-term abortions will not increase. Yeah. It's in the Hansard. And yet in just 3 years, it's doubled.
That's right.
352 babies killed via an injection of potassium chloride into their heart and then delivered dead. And David Christofouli has gagged the Parliament from doing anything about it. But there were also all of the LNP colleagues of yours, people like Carrie-Anne Dooley, Donna Kirkland, Amanda Stoker, Tim Mander, people who would say that they are Christian and who have been at pro-life events and marches, who have courted pro-life votes, who have had so many pro-life volunteers hand out for them at their electorates. They just sat there and did nothing, and not did nothing. They actually actively supported Christofouli's motion to gag the Parliament. Do you think that if you had been there, you would have supported it, or would you have crossed the floor?
All I can say is, look, I like to think that I would have done what I think was the right thing, which is cross the floor and voted against it. And that's, if you look at my track record, I think that would suggest that I'm not bullshitting.
You crossed the floor in COVID. Could you tell us about that? Was there a lot of
so
pressure on you?
I've done a number of things that have upset my own side for what I believe was the right reason. I told Malcolm Turnbull with George Christensen that I'd vote to support a motion to bring about a Royal Commission into the banks, and anyone can Google that. That was in my first year of Parliament, and we were in government, and it was a position that Malcolm Turnbull did not want to have that Royal Commission, and I was one of two who forced it to happen effectively with George. I did the same with the Royal Commission into veteran suicide, and I crossed the floor when we were in government to support Craig Kelly, who had left the Liberal Party at that stage with George again, my ideological brother, to do that. And, I know what it's like to cross the floor, but I don't find it that hard when you're doing it for the right reasons. You're trying to help people. And at the end of the day, people will appreciate the fact that you've stood up. There's a lot of pressure that gets put on you when you do go against the party line, but Australians are sick of all that bullshit towing the party line. They want people who are going to stand up on issues for them, for vulnerable people, for people that have been abused by the banks, for veterans who are killing themselves at twice the rate. Do they want someone that's going to just shut up, or do they want someone that's going to actually do something? So I'd like to think I would have done what I always do if I was there and voted against it. But it's easy to speculate about these things, but I think my record shows what I would have done.
Nigel Dalton crossed the floor this year.
He's a good man.
It was very brave and courageous of him.
Absolutely.
And that was a very hard decision for him. And I am concerned that his career may be over now, that he won't get pre-selected again. I think if he ran as an independent, he would win that seat. He had a huge margin towards him. But I am concerned that his career in the LNP is over. You've been in politics 10 years. How have you been able to keep getting pre-selected? Because when you cross the floor, don't people call you up and say, Lou, this is the end of you?
Yeah, so in Queensland, if you're, unlike the Labor Party, we're allowed to cross the floor. If it's a, strongly, deeply held position and people understand that, we don't, I believe the Labor Party, you get kicked out if you go against them in the Parliament. But we're allowed to, but obviously it's not the done thing. You can't just have people running each way on any bill. But you should be in that party because you believe in the direction that party's going. But on those times where I've gone against the party line, I've articulated why to my constituency and my members locally, and they've supported me, and I've never been challenged at a pre-selection, and I've been dragged down for a couple of meetings where I've had to explain myself, which is fair enough. Fair enough, but
does someone like Malcolm Turnbull ring you up and yell at you when you cause trouble like that? I want to know, what is it like?
Well, so that was an interesting one because that was when all of the citizenship issues were going on. So the dynamic in the party, the chamber had changed, and so the numbers had changed. So if one extra person made the decision to go against the party line, it actually had some meaning.
So the stakes were higher.
The stakes were real. So I came out and made that the announcement that I was prepared to support a motion that was coming down from the Senate. Now, you can't start a royal commission by legislation. It's the Governor General and the Prime Minister has to initiate that. But at the same time, a motion that's calling on the government to do something and then the government loses that motion because they haven't got the numbers is very, very significant. And I was, with George, I was the person that gave effect to that. So I had my phone turned off at the time, and then I turned it on a couple of hours later, and I had a few missed calls from the Prime Minister and other people, and that was fair enough. Yeah, we had a stern conversation, but I wasn't going to change. That's what I'm there for.
Okay.
Not,
Let's talk about the New South Wales Nationals. Now, I know you probably don't know these people too well, but right now we're seeking to pass a bill banning sex-selective abortion in New South Wales. We've reached out to the Nationals. There's 4 who have a vote on this, and we haven't had confirmation from any of them that they are going to support this ban on sex-selective abortion. And in 2019, when New South Wales legislated abortion up to birth, it was Nationals votes that were quite significant. There were so many Nationals, like the overwhelming number of Nationals supported abortion up to birth. How is that returning the country to Christian values? Like I struggle to understand the purpose of the Nationals as a conservative party if they can't have a conservative position that they hold to on these bills.
I'm with you. I don't get it. I don't know how it works, that they would do that. That wasn't the case in Queensland when we had the vote. Admittedly, Queensland has merged, so it's hard to tell who's who.
And now Queensland is arguably the worst place in the country because the LNP has the power to do something, and they've gagged anyone from doing anything.
I know. This is why people are losing faith, and not in both the Labor Party but also us, because what do we stand for? What do we stand for? And this is why, I'm going to sound like I'm banging the drum here, but this is why I'm so bloody happy Matt Canavan is the leader of the National Party now, because it's a guy that actually stands for something. You know what he stands for. It doesn't change as a result of whatever the polling is for the day. And he's been very supportive of what I'm doing here. And he introduced this bill in the Senate. Not only that, he's stood by his beliefs on a range of issues, and it's there to be seen. So we've got good leadership there. In the state scene, as I say, I'm bitterly disappointed and pissed off with what they've done in the Queensland Parliament. They've looked to me like they've lost the plot in New South Wales. If that was my local member, I'd be looking to get another one and pre-select them out for sure. I don't know the relationship between the state divisions and the federal, but ultimately the federal constitution is the federal constitution.
It damages the entire brand, Lou.
But fundamentally, what do you stand for if you're going against things that are the first objective in your constitution? You're going against that.
So I think probably there was no alternative for voters up until recent times.
Yeah.
Because the Nationals could do this and get away with this, because where were Conservative voters going to go? But now One Nation is obviously challenging both Labor and the LNP, and you've sort of got a third major party which has the potential to win these seats. And we've seen in the Farrer by-election in South Australia that they are now taking seats away from the Liberals and the Nationals. I mean, I'm going to make it my personal mission to destroy the New South Wales Nationals and to replace all of those people with One Nation members of Parliament next March. That will be my personal mission of my movement, of my family. Like, I've even discussed with my husband, we're just going to have to come to New South Wales, once a week in order to achieve this, because it is so wrong for Conservative voters to be voting for these guys. And they didn't have an option up until this point, but they do have an option now. Like, on the one hand, at least Labor, they're on the left. I think they also lie. Like, Anthony Albanese went to church so much during the election period, couldn't be seen with the Archbishop enough, cried over the death of Pope Francis, all of that, because they too know that they want to court the Christian vote during those periods. But for the Nationals, it's far worse, because they're meant to be a Conservative party, and yet they're allowing, they're voting for things like allowing men to change their birth certificates to identify as women, to be in girls' sports bathrooms. They're voting for abortion up to birth. They're voting against bills to stop the killing of girls just because they're girls in the womb. Like, it doesn't get more far left than that. And so One Nation does have a policy against late-term abortion. In the recent vote in South Australia, all 7 MPs held the line and voted for the bill to save babies after 25 weeks. Now, Matt Canavan, when I've had this discussion with him, he would say it's a conscience vote for your party, and he would also say that he's more pro-life than Pauline Hanson. But I don't really care about that, because the proof is in the vote. And if the One Nation MPs stick to the policy which is on the website, and the Nationals don't have a policy, and the conscience of most of your guys is in the gutter, so they are fine with killing babies up to birth and on the basis of gender, I'd rather take Pauline Hanson than your guys any day. Do you think that's fair for me to say?
Look, I think, I don't want to get into a discussion on me giving a criticism of One Nation. I think you need to look at the individuals. that you're electing as well. I do. I mean, yes, we're all parties. The facts are One Nation has lost a lot of members over a period of time, and there's been a lot of conflict. So they're still to be tested, and it is early days in South Australia. In Queensland, when they were elected back in the 90s, they had 11 seats, and within a very, very short time, not even one term, most of those had splintered off into independents. There's but I'm not saying that's, they haven't changed. I'd want to see some more democratic structure, or see what the democratic structure is around the party, because, I see where you're coming from, and they've just got a lot more work to do before I'd say vote for them. They can be trusted.
We can't vote for you guys, right?
No, but
I could vote for you.
Yeah, but if you vote for me,
I could vote for Anne Webster, but I couldn't vote for Wes Fang or.
I get that, but if you vote for me,
Sarah Mitchell.
You look at my track record, and you'll see that I've always done what I believe is right. You've got a clear direction that I've always voted in. You can be confident that I'll do something. So. Look.
But you're an outlier. You're with the troublemakers, like the George Christensens, Alex Antics, Craig Kellys of this world. Matt, you don't represent the party really in terms of what the party has done. But I guess, can you see a future where the Nationals would have a policy against late-term abortion? Could you see a future where that might happen?
Yes. If the members are strong enough to enforce it, the grassroots members, and you have the right leadership. David has taken a position as a leader, I think, in steering his ship away from changing those laws, whereas Matt would be, I believe, trying to steer the ship differently if he was in that position. Leadership makes a big difference. I get why the appeal of One Nation is there. I mean, net zero is another one. Like, we completely sold our soul on that. I've never voted for it. I always thought it was madness. It was betraying our basic values of small government and cheap electricity. It was never going to be cheap. It was never going to be this nirvana that it was pitched as. But we went along with it when we shouldn't have. Matt didn't. Matt was the same with me, same as me. George didn't. We had a big group that didn't, but unfortunately we didn't have the numbers. Look, getting back to One Nation, I'm all for democracy, and I don't criticise One Nation because I agree with a lot of what they're prosecuting. I don't agree with some things. I don't know whether, if I was in One Nation, whether they would have put up with me either. Whether I'd be one of those ones that was booted out or left. I don't know what their structure's like. And that's important. That is important.
It is, but I would push back and say that in some ways the democratic structure of the Nationals and the Liberals has allowed leftists to infiltrate the party and to get pre-selection and then the party to essentially become Labor light. If you think about the moderates faction in the LNP, you basically have leftists in your own party that prevent you from ever taking a proper socially conservative party position because you're white-anted from within. And
it's our job to advocate to have policies that aren't acceptable to those people, and they can bugger off and find themselves a new party.
But one of them is the deputy leader, like Jane Hume is the deputy leader. Maria Kovacic in New South Wales. Like, these are people that voted against giving life-saving treatment to babies who survived their abortion on an urgency motion that Senator Babette had, and they're senior in the Liberal Party. So you sort of go, well, look, people like me are wondering, are these parties irredeemable because of the structure that they have? And I know there's been historical issues with One Nation. For example, I'm pretty certain that some of the Victorian guys voted for government-assisted suicide. I think they've spilled all over the place over the years. But there could be an argument to say that One Nation Mark II, which has Pauline Hanson and James Ashby at, running the show, maybe that's a better model, because they are, certainly in South Australia, the candidates that they're pre-selected have towed the line, they've held the party position. Maybe there's something to be said for that, and maybe the Nationals and the Liberals have to go back to the drawing board, because I just don't see how you attract Conservative voters if you are Labor light, which is how you feel. So, you just vote Labor.
Yeah. So the party is something that exists as a result of its membership. So if you get more Conservative people in the party, you take over the party, and you then create policies and point the party in a direction that is more conservative. Yeah. And that can happen. And yes, a risk there is that you get people of not a conservative view that can come in and infiltrate, but that's the nature of politics. With One Nation, and what happens when Pauline goes? Who's in charge? How does it change? What is the policy formation? What is the pre-selection structure? They're going well at the moment, and I'm actually benefiting from it, because it's pushing my party in a direction that I've been trying to and working on pushing my party in the more conservative direction. So it's not all bad from my perspective, but are we going to see another the 1990s where, because it is so central and it seems to be dictated by a couple of people, and when there's disagreement, and what are the processes to fix those things? What gives it that strength? I don't know.
I don't think I do either. I've been really interested to hear your thoughts. I think we are in a watch this space kind of moment. We're clearly at a time of upheaval, in that we've got three parties now vying to be the top two, really. And we've never been here before. From my perspective, seeking to end abortion in Australia, I'm really excited that one of the three has a position against abortion up to birth. Pauline spoke about it at the press club. She's come on my own show 3 times now. I do think those are really positive steps, and she's copped flack for that, and her party has copped a lot of flack for that. So I am excited to at least see some competitive energy on the right, because I think we need it.
Yeah, no, I think what's happening is, as I say, it's shifting the dial, and people are pissed off with the coalition. My view, they have every right to be pissed off with the coalition. We need to get their trust back. We need to work hard to show them that we've changed, if we have changed. And I believe with Matt in the National Party, we have changed, definitely. I remember, Matt, through COVID, was one of the lone voices internally fighting so hard, and he was out of cabinet, so his ability to change things in that level was different. But he was a guy that, when everyone was drinking the Kool-Aid and shitting themselves, he had the fortitude and the strength to stand up and go, hang on, I'm not comfortable with this. When everyone was, virtually everyone, maybe Craig, Kelly, but even then, at the same time, he stood up. And that's why I backed him for leadership. He stood up on net zero, never supported net zero, pushed back, drove it from the backbench, changed the party's position. If we have more people in leadership like that, get rid of the weak ones, get rid of the ones that are not aligned with what our parties were created for, then we're back in the game, and we have the foundations there. We've got a lot of work to do. But while the likes of Matt are there, I'm there to fight with him.
One of the takeaways for me listening to you talk is that ordinary Australians need to get involved in politics.
Ordinary Australians absolutely need to get involved in politics.
You don't seem like a natural politician to me. No. And you were at one of our events. I didn't even know you were there at the summit. And normally politicians, within 30 seconds of entering the room, find their way to me and introduce themselves. I had to find out from other people that you were there. you're not, you don't seem like a normal politician. Even this interview that you've done, you haven't minced your words and you've expressed, you know, how you feel about some of the people on your own side. That's not normal. But I think, you know, if we're going to change this, we're going to need people that aren't typical politicians to go into this. Why did, you know, we'll finish up here, but why did you go in?
Well, I was bullied into it by my wife. No. I was a policeman. I was involved in investigating a lot of fatal accidents, actually, and that was part of what I did, and that was what triggered my political. I wanted to get the roads better, and I became involved through that, trying to advocate for better outcomes on the roads, because I was just seeing so much death and horror. But it wasn't my ambition to be a politician. I got involved to change things on a policy front and to try and advocate in that regard. Others liked what I was doing and came in when my predecessor Warren Truss was retiring. He came and saw me and told me that he thought I should take over from him, and I was a little bit shocked. I didn't see myself as that person. You know, my wife did support me greatly to make that decision, to put myself forward for Parliament. When I walked into the federal Parliament for the first time, I didn't arrive there thinking, well, wait till they realise I'm the next Prime Minister. What the hell has happened here? But I'm going to make the most of this opportunity. And that's what I've done. I'm not, you know, a great retail out there politician seeking the limelight, but my record will show that I have stood up where I felt like I need to, and this is one of those areas. Mm-hmm. This is, as I say, I told the party room, there's probably no more important thing I'm going to do in this Parliament than introduce this bill. Even if it's just kicked off into the long grass, this is making a statement on behalf of little Australians that haven't got a voice and are dying in very, very terrible circumstances. So it's bloody important, and that's why I'm there.
Well, we wish you all the best, Llew, and thank you for being a voice for vulnerable people. And we hope and pray that more people like you rise up and go into politics. So thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Jo.